It seemed as though the Victory Tour was plagued by problems from the start. During the filming of a Pepsi commercial, Michael was burned as a series of pyrotechnic effects were ignited behind him on stage. He had just made his entrance to join his brothers when suddenly his hair was on fire.
But there was terrific control. The audience did not go crazy. They were obviously concerned for Michael. Michael was very brave. Film later has shown me that his hair caught on fire and he came down, and while it was burning, he was trying to get his jacket off. So I think he thought it was initially his jacket on fire, and only because he's so incredibly talented, he did 2 quick spins, and the fire seemed to go out by his own force.
Later, the media focused on the Jacksons' search for a co-promoter to work with Don King. At one point, it looked like Providence-based promoter Frank Russo had the job.
After making my presentation, I was notified on the spot that I was a successful applicant and that the tour was mine to promote. I was instructed to commence work immediately. I did this and made arrangements for a substantial part of the tour throughout the United States and Canada. I spent a great deal of time and effort to accomplish this. My suit against the Jacksons will allege that they broke their agreement with me and wrongfully misappropriated the fruits of my labor.
The Jacksons finally settled on New England Patriots owner Chuck Sullivan, but that didn't mean Don King would be taking a back seat.
Another rumor I'd like to clear up, that Don King, my husband, and myself are still the promoters of this show.
You got me, for better or worse, whatever it's worth.
There would be one last setback before the kickoff of the Victory Tour. Jackie Jackson, the oldest of the brothers, would be sidelined for the entire tour after undergoing knee surgery.
I was going to tell you, it's like torture, you know. It's awful to put all the work into it and find out the doctor tells you that you can't go on tour, you know. I knew, and I still know right now, with all the hard therapy I'm putting on my leg and all the workouts, that I would be back real soon, sooner than a lot of people think.
Ironically, Jackie had written a song called Torture for the Victory album, which reached number 17 on the pop charts. Next, we'll take a look at Michael Jackson's videos. Michael's dynamic videos set the stage for the phenomenal success of Thriller in 1984. Beat It featured Michael dancing with members of LA street gangs. It was directed by Bob Giraldi.
He's the hottest star in the world now, and I have to feel that the video experience of his, of which he's the leading performer, all the videos he's done has made him, you know, even a bigger superstar than just the album experience and success would have.
Just be there.
Beat It paved the way for Giraldi's next video project, directing Michael and Paul McCartney in Say, Say, Say.
By the way, I think one of the magical moments is when Paul puts shaving cream on Michael's face, and Michael didn't know that was coming. That was when Paul and I went over to the side and said, on this take, why don't you try just going right across your face and go onto him and see what happens. And the expression on Michael's face is so genuine, you know, one of those magic moments. I woke up about 3 weeks later and realized that I had just finished working with the musical history of yesterday, today, and tomorrow. I'd love to work with Michael Jackson anytime because he's a great talent.
Giraldi would go on to direct brother Jermaine Jackson's Dynamite and Do What You Do. Coming up next, John Landis and Thriller. Thriller, the 14-minute long-playing video that turns Michael Jackson into a howling werewolf, broke records in 1984 as the biggest-selling music home video cassette ever. During the making of Thriller, no expense was spared. Jackson spent over $1 million and enlisted the services of Hollywood director John Landis. Thriller became Michael's most celebrated video, winning the Viewer's Choice Award at the first annual MTV Video Music Awards show.
First of all, I'd like to thank Michael for making the call. His concept, by the way, was, I want to turn into a monster. Okay.
The painstaking process took a crew of 20 artists many hours to complete. Headed by Rick Baker, who also worked with Landis on An American Werewolf in London, the crew paid attention to even the smallest detail, and the result was extraordinary.
When I met Michael and I went to his house and we talked, I gradually became aware that he knew me from American Werewolf and knew nothing else.
I haven't seen any. Well, I saw Kentucky Fried Movie.
Saw Kentucky Fried Movie.
Which was funny.
So it was like real awkward. George said, well, Michael, I mean, have you seen Trading Places?
No.
Animal House?
No.
Blues Brothers?
No.
Sort of like real depressing.
Those are your biggest ones,
Real
right?
depressing afternoon at Michael Jackson's house.
Next, a thriller of a party. New York's Museum of Natural History was the site of a huge party thrown by CBS Records to honor what would shortly become the biggest-selling record in pop music history.
I've always wanted to do great things and achieve many things, but for the first time in my entire career, I feel like I've accomplished because I'm in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Michael Jackson's Thriller is now the highest-selling solo album in the history of recorded music, and he's got 23 million. So he's just very close behind the group record set by the Bee Gees with Saturday Night Fever at 25 million.
The Guinness Book would later stop the presses to record Thriller's next feat, announced only hours later by CBS President Walter Yetnikoff.
I'm reading from the Guinness Book of Records. The best-selling album of all time is Saturday Night Fever with 25 million copies globally. I have news for you. Today, we surpassed 25 million copies for Thriller. Michael Jackson, the #1 artist in the world!
By the end of 1984, Thriller had sold more than 38 million albums around the world. Next, we'll talk to the man who produced Thriller, Quincy Jones.
Quincy Jones is a wonderful person. Not only is he an incredible producer, he is a wonderful man. He is such a family person. And I love him, and we have made history together, and I'm thankful.
The relationship between Michael and producer Quincy Jones began with their work on Jackson's Off the Wall LP. It sold 7 million copies and spawned such hits as Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You.
Rock with you all night. Dance you into the sunlight.
After the phenomenal success of Off the Wall, questions rose regarding its follow-up, Thriller.
We spent the 3 years trying to anticipate how much pressure it would be, and before we could figure out how much pressure was on us, we were through. Because Michael's very professional. He's, I mean that in the sense that he's very disciplined. He doesn't cry about work. You know, work doesn't scare him. You know, he knows that you have to really give it up if you want. He wants so much out of everything that he doesn't mind giving it. You know, and I think that's a fair trade.
But hard work isn't the only thing necessary to make an album as big as Thriller.
The bottom line still is musicality and what his heart and his imagination, his wisdom is about, and his, you know, his talent. That's, he's got a tremendous amount of talent, you know.
Coming up next hour, Michael goes to